So what's up, guys?
Hey, Dustin's going to be leading this one.
We're doing a recap on the fivefold ministry.
We had a video of Dustin doing the fivefold ministry at his church that we uploaded to this channel, and he's just going to give a little recap on that, some new found things that he wants to say about it.
A lot of what I'm going to say on this video, I didn't say on the other video. The actual recap is one of the controversial subjects in theology and, of course, in the church. However, according to Ephesians 4:12, they have a responsibility to equip God's people and build up his church. Apostles, if you don't know what the fivefold ministry is apostles, which is the thumb, prophets, the finger, the point index finger, the evangelist, the longest reaching finger, and the pastor, the ring finger.
That's kind of cute.
Who is responsible of the bride of Christ.
This is a purity ring, by the way. It's not an engagement ring.
Yeah. And the teacher, the balancing finger, which they all are part of God's church. Which I said in the last video about the fivefold ministry that our leadership is not a hierarchy. In Ephesians 5:23, for a husband is the head of his wife, as Christ is head of the church. He is the savior of his body, the church. Jesus is head, but the leadership that Jesus makes us to become is the responsibility that he gives us, which I said in that sermon, leadership is not a hierarchy, but it is a responsibility that Jesus himself gives us to be. If you feel called for being an apostle, prophet, evangelist, pastor, or teacher, that could be a good indication God is giving you that responsibility, because he gives the gifts to help his church and all of us to become mature and closer to him. Through these questions, we're going to discuss a little more into the theological technicality aspect and answer some questions.
Hypothetically, if someone asked him this, he would answer that.
Hypothetically, how can I receive the gift? Any of the fivefold gifts. One, it's Christ's gift given to the church. Christ has to insert that gift within you. According to 1 Corinthians 12. Even though that you have the gift, we all have to remember it's the same God who has given the gifts to us. For example, if we have like a pastor give, okay, that doesn't mean we shouldn't go out of our ways to like disregard Christ's will over our lives. If it's Christ's gift, he can easily take that away. So it is his will that you have that gift. And that goes for another question. Why can't I only use a gift only in certain settings? I do believe that is where you're mostly developed in. I believe there's a growing process where we can mature and grow into that gift that the Lord has given you to be. For example, if you work in a doctor's office or somewhere in hospitality, anywhere that serves people, you can develop your giftings there. You can develop one, prayer and healing, but also your pastoral gift. The pastor has the responsibility to feed their sheep, to take care of their sheep and their herd. How many fivefold gifts can a person have? Well, like I said from the last video, I can name number of settings and a number of times where I had the gift of apostle, prophet, evangelist, pastor, and teacher. And in that case, that's kind of rare. But once I took that test, I kind of have a gifting of apostleship over my life. She did a testing and she's more of a pastor. She likes to help with kids and people. And by the way, in my process of my understanding of these gifts, I do believe that apostleship, one thing that I look for is, one is the definition and how it's functioned. I never look towards like the personality personality of the gifts because that goes off the rails. But apostle, by its definition, is the Greek term Paulos, which means sent one. So God is sending that person over to that field, but then there's a function. This is where we not get caught up in mixing these gifts up. That apostle is about a culture or a group of people rather than like an evangelist, which is individual. I believe that you do have modes within your personality that God's placed in you for those gifts to grow. The two giftings that I score high on is apostle and evangelist, which I'd rather be an apostle because that's where I can grow people, that's where I can mature people, and basically discipleship.
But a lot of your friends would call you an evangelist.
That goes into bringing them to Christ, which that's equally important. It's the gifts that God planted in you. That goes into, can a non-believer have these gifts? And I would say possibly, because when we think of theological terms, we think of the apostle as a CEO or as a general, which, hey, CEO of a company, which could be non or believer.
And I mean, there's teachers all over.
Yeah, secular teachers. By the way, guys, study more in neo-scholasticism. That's the biblical worldview. The reality has already been written. Don't be scared to reach out to me or to her.
If you guys have any comments, questions, or concerns, we always have our info in the description below. And we are okay with being contacted that way. Don't message us on personal info unless you know us personally.
Well, that's the end of the video.
Then, now you... Dude.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
And tap the post notification bell so you will be notified every time we post a new video.
Alright, see
Bye,
you
guys.
guys.